Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining me today. We got a lot of crazy stuff going on in Minneapolis still, of course. And, you know, Tim Walz, after calling ICE Gestapo, after calling Trump Hitler and ICE the Gestapo, and that this is Nazi Germany, and that Somalians are Anne Frank, and all this rhetoric that the Democrats have been spewing over the last few days and weeks. And then yesterday, shocking, Walz says, well, we just got off the phone with Hitler, and we will be coordinating and cooperating with him and the Gestapo from now on. See, this is why nobody can take these people seriously, right? Why would we take you seriously if that's the kind of ridiculous rhetoric you use? And then, so you're trying and you're trying and you're trying to stop Hitler, trying to stop the Gestapo. You got your cronies out there in the streets acting like they're freedom fighters, standing up to fascism. And then the very next day, you decide to side with them, side with the Gestapo, side with Hitler. That's how dumb this is. It's so silly. And we're supposed to take you people seriously? We're supposed to take anything you say seriously? Because everybody knows it's just hyperbole and it's rhetoric and it's ridiculous. I had a guy from Germany message me, put it on my comments, and he said, oh my gosh, I'm so scared. This ICE stuff. I'm from Germany, and this just scares me so much. It's just like what the Nazis did in Germany. Well, if that's the case, then Tim Walz is a Nazi sympathizer. And he's a partner now with the Gestapo in disappearing people. Does this make any sense to anybody? Because it's not really about any of that kind of stuff. That's why they use the rhetoric to try to rile up their base, to rile up people who are uneducated, who are emotionally whipped up, who don't know what is actually going on, to get all the dummies out there in the streets, to use them as cannon fodder to try and stop Trump. And they don't even really, they're honestly, it's not even, that's not even what they're concerned about. That's just the convenient story they have to tell to their people so that they can go out there and do stupid stuff and try to get ICE out of their town. So they came to this agreement that some ICE officers would be removed, and then the Minnesota State Police would take over some of the operations, which they could have done from the very beginning. And for some reason, because they were putting on this front that they're tough and they're standing up to the bad guys and they're standing up to evil and standing up to Hitler and the Gestapo, that we're not going to cooperate, we're not going to coordinate until shit hit the fan. And then Walz started feeling the heat and the pressure from the evil people who were funding the protesters, and for his own safety, because he's going to get his ass in trouble big time. So he's feeling the heat. And then all of a sudden, the Gestapo aren't so bad. I guess we'll just do the same thing that they're already doing. It's actually not that bad. We can handle it. This is why they have no credibility whatsoever. They won't again for a very long time, and is a real bad look for Walz. Now, maybe he got a couple concessions here and there. It's not like Trump or ICE are leaving Minneapolis anytime soon. They've already arrested about 10,000 people from various reports. But let's take a look at what Trump and Walz came to agreement on here. So this says, let me enlarge. Can I enlarge that? No. Okay. Anyway, I'll read it off to you here. It says, Governor, this is Trump, Governor Tim Walz called me with the request to work together with respect to Minnesota. It was a very good call, and we actually seem to be on a similar wavelength. I told Governor Walz that I would have Tom Homan call him, and that what we are looking for, and that what we are looking for are any and all criminals that they have in their possession. That's what he was asking for the whole time, that Walz refused to give to him. The governor very respectfully understood that, and I will be speaking to him in the near future. He was happy that Tom Homan was going to Minnesota, and so am I. We have had such tremendous success in Washington, D.C., Memphis, Tennessee, and New Orleans, Louisiana, and virtually every other place we have touched. And even in Minnesota, crime is way down, but both Governor Walz and I want to make it better. So now they're working together. Walz just had a wonderfully peaceful conversation with Hitler. All right. And so now he feels good about it. The silliness just never stops. So anyway, now that Minnesota state police have entered into this thing, Minnesota State Patrol has now been activated. They could have done this the whole time, but it wasn't until after the call between Walz and Trump and the discovery of the Signal chat groups involving Minnesota government officials that this happened. So there was a Signal chat group with a bunch of protesters, and this is how they coordinated their efforts and how they made sure that they were all going to the same places. And it was a very highly organized protests, and people from out of state were coming in and being funded by people from out of the country and out of the state. These groups have been getting a bunch of money, and the person behind all this was Lieutenant Governor of Minnesota. And so when Cam Higbee published the Signal group chat, the shit hit the fan. All these people started leaving the chat. The lieutenant governor is in deep shit, and Walz caved in instantly right after that. That, in addition to all the fraud allegations, all the stuff, all the other things that are going on in Minnesota, it's not a good look, and it's not going to turn out well for Walz. So, but maybe this protects him from prosecution. Maybe that was part of the agreement, that Trump's not going to go after him to put him in prison like he deserves. And he's just going to, wants this ICE situation to go better and smoother, and the deportation, so that, because this is bad press for Trump. We don't really know all the details. We can assume that there had to have been something in it for Walz. But anyway, the Minnesota State Patrol are out in force now. And the protesters are thinking, oh, great, we've got somebody, these guys are on our side. They're not gonna, do anything. They're not gonna push us down and be meanies and be Gestapo. But there's not much difference. Let's take a look. Here's.
You are now under arrest. Please sit down and wait for instruction.
Arresting protesters.
Where's your credentials?
I'm on level 12 news.
I can't hear you.
I'm at level 12 news. BT on the scene. I'm just pressed.
You don't have any press credentials?
I don't. I can tell you
All right, why don't you move out there, okay?
Look at these masked thugs. Look at these masked thugs. Tim Walz is like Hitler, and Minnesota State Patrol is the Gestapo, right? I'm sure that's what the right now is just, or the left is all up in arms about, and they're probably bitching about it. Oh, look at this. Tim Walz now is head of the Gestapo. Tim Walz is Hitler. Look at, they've got masks over their face. Huh. It's so scary.
Get out there. Stay outside the line, okay? Coming out. Coming out.
Ready for me now?
They have made multiple arrests.
So, you know, because these protesters are well funded and well paid, they're still out there protesting, and the Minnesota State Patrol is trying to keep things under control. They're still arresting people.
What the fuck, Carlson? You traitor!
Oh my gosh, did you just see that? They're disappearing people. They're disappearing people. Look at that black van back there. Whoa, the Minnesota State Patrol under the leadership of Tim Walz are disappearing people like Hitler and the Nazis and the Gestapo. Tim Walz is Hitler. Why?
Look at this big fat fucking thing. Look at fucking smokestack over here. You look like a toad. What the hell you are? What fucking toad you are?
They're like, ah, shit, what do we do now? Huh. ICE, these are not ICE officers, so we can't attack and fight the Gestapo. We just got these normal guys here. How are we going to turn this into some crazy loony left-wing protest? What do we, how?
Step back! Move back! Stand down! Look over here! Look at me! Move back! Stand back! Step back!
The area, if you do not do so,
Move back! Fuck you!
Stick together! Do not express! Fuck you fucking pig!
the public safety order to disperse and order all those assembled in front of the residents to disperse immediately and cease your unlawful behavior. Use of less lethal devices and or crowd control tactics.
So what's happening?
If you continue to obstruct, resist, or interfere with the police officers, you will be in violation of Minnesota State Statute 609.50, obstructing a legal process.
What? There are laws against obstructing officers? There are laws that if you don't listen to them, you're going to get arrested? Well, even when Minnesota's in charge? Even when it's not Hitler and the Gestapo? It's the Minnesota Hitler and Gestapo, I guess. These fascists with their laws.
Please sit down and wait for instructions.
Yo, when am I going to be able to get out of here? What's that? All right.
That guy's like, my car's blocked in. I need to go do stuff.
You got fired! Fuck you, bitches! Oh! My name is
It's so many white young women. Have you noticed that? It's like tons of white young women. You never see a black person in any of this. You barely see old people. Occasionally you'll see some old people. And sometimes you'll see some younger guys, but it's almost all, it's probably like 75% young women. Right? Because they've been so manipulated and they've been so brainwashed, and they're so easily propagandized, because all you have to do is get some kind of an emotional reaction going, and then it spreads across all of them. They don't know why they're there. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know anything about the situation. They just know that they're standing up for truth. They're standing up for niceness, for kindness, because, it's really nice to leave a child rapist in your community. That's so kind and so compassionate. Just like, I couldn't think of anything that would be more kind and compassionate than doing something, fighting for something like that. Fighting to keep, drug dealers who've been arrested and need to be deported, keeping them in your community, around your children, around your family, around your friends. That's just so nice, because they're our friends. They're our neighbors. We're going to stand up for them.
I know you're getting some good.
They didn't scare us! We've watched you murder people! We're not scared! You're supposed to protect us! For what?
You're under arrest. You're under arrest.
Arrested her. That's funny.
Your unlawful conduct and threat to public safety, I hereby declare this to be an unlawful assembly. You're in violation of Minnesota State Statute 609.705, unlawful assembly. I now issue you
I'm getting in my car! I'm getting in my car! Your dick is as small as his. It's mine.
You guys don't block her from leaving. Back your ass in the car. Let's go. Get out of the way.
Minnesota State Statute 609.50, obstructing the legal process.
Man, leave him.
Get you up. Watch out so she can get out. Hey. Hold it down. Hold it down.
Oh, yeah, another young lady. I don't know if they just don't know what else to do. If they're being paid, it's probably a little of both. Why is it young women? Why so many of them? you know, you can look at the charts and you can see plain as day that young women have gotten way more radicalized and they're way more left leaning, far, far more than the boys have been radicalized to the right. In fact, the charts show that young men are basically as conservative as they've always been. But young women are way more radical than they used to be in the past. So the woke mind virus is especially powerful with the young women, and they're kind of powerless against it if they're left on their own in their own groups. And they just adopt these crazy ideas, hook, line, and sinker. They don't really have reasons for them. They don't think about them. They don't read books. They don't have a philosophy. They don't have anything. It's just simply a social thing, a social contagion among the young women. And that's what carries them into doing these stupid things. They don't have a concept of like, this could be dangerous. And they don't have the concept of, if these police officers weren't here and they weren't protecting and defending everything, then mobs would just come out and kick your ass because they don't like you there. So they're actually being protected by the police, but then they act like they're not, and they're being abused and all this kind of stupid stuff. So rioters surrounded to attack a hotel near Minneapolis where they believe federal agents are staying. Minnesota State Police were allowed to be deployed to shut down the attack. They were not allowed to respond previously, and that was because of Tim Walz. He would not allow the police, so things got way out of hand. Then when ICE called for police backup, they refused to help. And yet they're going to pat themselves on the back and think that they're the good ones. Massive Minnesota police are holding nothing back against the left now. President Trump forces Tim Walz into caving big time, and arrests were made outside the federal agent's hotel. The rioters are headed to jail. This is what winning looks like. So do you think this was a win for Walz? I think this makes Walz look really bad. He made the wrong decision to stand up to Trump. It only lasted a couple days. And then after a couple days, he's giving in and he's doing the work that Trump wanted him to do in the first place. So yeah, Bovino is left and he went back to California, but Trump's bringing in Tom Homan now. And if you disliked them rounding up illegals and deporting people when Bovino was there, you're really going to dislike it now that Homan's there. Homan's really, really good at it. He's been doing it for 40 years. He knows exactly how to do it and how to coordinate it all. So they already got 10,000 out of there, maybe another 10,000 to go. We'll see. Let's see what this one is. Oh.
Do you work for a tea company? Oh, yeah.
You know, good. Go spend a couple nights in prison. You know, what's so interesting here is this was if they were wearing different uniforms, right, other than Minnesota State Patrol, they would be called Nazis and Gestapo and fascists and all this kind of stuff. So it's kind of interesting. Just 2 days ago, Governor Walz was all fighting. He was standing up to Hitler. He was fighting the fascists. He was going to protect our people, protect our communities. And then the very next day, flips, and he's got he's pals now with the Gestapo and with Hitler, and he's working for him. I find that hilarious and ridiculous as to how these people don't really believe anything except their power. Because this whole scenario, this whole situation, all this stuff isn't about anything to do with immigrants. It's nothing to do with any of that stuff. It's all just protecting Democrat power. That's all that's all that's going on here. That's all that Walz is trying to accomplish. He wants to keep his stranglehold on his power, and he wants the Democrats to stay in power. And the way that they do that is by having these illegal immigrants in their state. They bring in large amounts of illegal immigrants so that they can boost their population, so that they can get more apportionment of congressional seats, so that they can get more electoral college votes, electorates. And they do the same thing in California. They do the same thing in Oregon, Washington. This is the playbook that the Democrats have decided to use over the last, probably about 6 or so years, 7 years. This has been the plan. Flood our towns with illegals and legals, but we're talking about illegals here. Flood it with illegals, and then boost your numbers so that you can get more proportionate of federal power. And so not only that, but then they've got these fraud scams that they've already been running for longer than that, since like 2014, where they're paying money. They're taking taxpayer money, they're funneling it to illegals on their fake businesses, and then portion of that is ending back up either in their own personal bank accounts or in their campaigns, so that they can then shuffle the money around and get Democrats elected to power, all through a money laundering of taxpayer money.
My name is
I know you're getting some good shots. Just
These protesters really think they're accomplishing something. They're standing up for something. They don't really know what it is, but they're good people because of it.
South or the southeast towards Hemlock Lane. You have 3 minutes to disperse.
So what's happening?
If you continue to obstruct, resist, or interfere with the police officers, you will be in violation of Minnesota State Statute 609.50.
Again, these are Minnesota police. This is not ICE. And so let's listen to what this genius has to say.
So what do we do now that Republicans just literally essentially killed all of the poor people in America that rely on Medicare and Medicaid to survive? And I know a lot of you fucking Republicans are on that shit too. Yeah, you. Do you guys not understand how expensive insurance is? Because my family pays $1,200 a month in fucking premiums. $1,200 a month in insurance premiums when I still have to pay $40 to go to the fucking doctor and $6,000 deductible for them to actually cover anything. And then we've got the minimum wage at like $9 an hour, and you expect people to be able to afford fucking insurance on $12 an hour and supporting a family? Do you just literally want people to die? Oh.
I wonder if flooding a country with illegal immigrants, putting them on free health insurance, letting them use emergency rooms, and then bill it back to the federal government, and giving them money and wages and letting them, I wonder if any of that would affect any of this stuff. Any ideas? I wonder if that would affect anything like that. If it would drive up, if you bring in a bunch more demand, you suppose that would drive up prices? I wonder. Let me think. I wonder if you bring in a bunch of illegals who need to rent properties, I wonder if that's going to increase the cost of rent. I wonder if that would be the case. I wish, gosh, I just wish that I knew something about economics, because then I could figure this out. But I think for right now, I'm just going to bitch and moan about it. And then I'm going to call ICE Gestapo. They're trying to solve the problem. Think about Minnesota from a leftist perspective. You go out in the streets, risk your life, brawling with cops. Your friends are getting shot. Then Tim Walz takes a friendly phone call from President Trump, cuts a deal to save himself, and betrays your dead friend's martyrdom. Well said, sir. Well said. Yep. All of that was for nothing. Everything for nothing. Trying acting like you're changing the world. Let's see what Tom Homan has to say about all
and
this.
these people who want to say follow ICE, and film ICE, you know what? You can protest. They have that right. But when you cross that line, and we've proven it, if you interfere or impede or assault an ICE officer, you will be prosecuted. And one thing I'm pushing for right now, Laura, we're going to create a database where those people that are arrested for interference, impediment, assault, we're going to make them famous. We're going to put their face on TV.
I love this idea. So the people that get arrested, they're going to make a database. They're going to blast out there into the media who these people are. They're going to say, "Oh, you think that your identity, there's something, beneficial to keeping your identity secret? Well, now we're going to take these protesters, the ones that get arrested, and we're going to just blast them out there." So
we're going to let their employers in their neighborhoods, in their schools, know who these people are. Because as you said, a lot of these people, they say they're taking time off work to protest. I bet you a lot of them are calling in sick. I bet you a lot of their employers don't know what they're doing. But we're going to make sure everybody knows who they are. We're going to broadcast. They want to broadcast the ICE officer that was nearly killed all over the internet. We're going to broadcast every one of these people we are.
Good. Yeah, let their employers know who they are. Let their neighbors know who they are. Let them know that they're these crazy quacks who are out here being lunatics, breaking shit, obstructing law officers. And the left just keeps getting loonier and loonier and loonier. There's no limit to the ridiculous analogies they can make with Hitler. It's like they just can't stop with the Hitler stuff. And the thing is that we're 80 years removed from Hitler. Okay, we don't need to let Hitler dominate our lives anymore. He's dominated them since World War II, and he keeps dominating them, and he keeps dominating them. And it's so like everything is about Hitler, right? And it's about not doing anything that even looks even anywhere close that somebody could associate it with fascism or Hitler or anything like that. And this is the thing that's breaking down in the world right now. And this is why there's kind of a lot of craziness going on. It's because this post-World War II consensus that we agreed to after World War II, where there was such devastation and such destruction that the powers that be had to come up with a plan for how could we stop this from ever happening again. That was so terrible and so evil and so destructive that we need to put together a plan so that we can reduce this from ever happening again in the entire world. So they put together this plan that we're going to have open borders, and we're going to have open economies, and we're going to trade with one another. We're going to open up other countries, and we're going to tie ourselves together financially so that we don't want to go to war, because if we do, it'll hurt us. And we're going to stop having strong identities with certain groups. We're not going to have identities with our nation, because nationalism, when it gets on the rise and when it gets power, it ends up in destruction, just like it did in Germany and with Hitler. And when people identify too much with their race, or when they identify too much with their religion, or when they identify too much with anything, then that's just always dangerous, especially when the majorities are doing it. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we open up the entire world for trade, that we exchange not only goods but people, so that we can run into people who are different than us, and we can see that they're not evil, they're not bad, we don't want to fight them. Okay? So anytime people identify as a group, oh, it's Hitlerian. Anytime somebody cares about their country, oh, it's Nazi Germany. Because we can't get past and can't think past this idea that anything like that is we're back in 1940. Well, people are tired of it living like we're in 1940 and using that as our you know, mark for what can and can't be. And because people have taken that and they've hijacked it and they've used it in this sort of cultural socialist type way where the majorities are bad and the minorities are good, and majorities are always oppressors and minorities are always the oppressed. Right? So if a majority wants to enact its will, like in a democracy, well, it's oppression. It's oppression because it's Hitler. And it's not. It's like these people cannot separate those two things. These globalists who believe in the post-World War II consensus that you need to give up your national identity. You need to give up your borders. If you enforce your borders, somehow you're like Hitler. If you want to have a national identity, you're somehow Nazis. And it's kind of run its course, and people are tired of it. And this is what's also going on with the global economic order. This is why Trump is making new trade deals with different countries and why he's so concerned about South America and the Western Hemisphere, because it's about this detangling ourselves from having the whole globe depend on us, and for making deals with people that are not in our best interest, because the UN and these global orders, the WEF, that were put into place after World War II say, no, you can't do that. You have to, especially America, you have to be open to trade with all countries. You have to be open to cultural exchange with all cultures, because diversity is our strength, even though study after study shows diversity is actually not a strength, that it's actually very destructive. Well, but that was the order we put into place because we didn't want there to be homogeneity in countries, because when countries are homogenous, then they want to go and kill each other. That's the philosophy behind it. And so primarily applied just to the Western world, because nobody's concerned about China's homogeneity or Japan's or Africa's. So, but this was the idea. And so this is why every time anything that these people don't like happens, like we enforce our borders and the laws that we have created in a bipartisan way, when we enforce those laws, they're like, oh no, it's Hitler. It's borders. It doesn't really make any sense. It's like a mythology. That's what it is. So it's a mythological belief about the past. And they take this mythology and they try to overlay it with the current, what's going on currently, and they just can't. It has to be Hitlerian. It has to be Nazis if you actually care about your country. Why wouldn't you just let a bunch of foreigners take it over? What's wrong with you? You're so bad. You're so evil. And that's why we get retarded people like this lady who doesn't have a thought of her own, who's just mimicking the talking points of the radical left, and will feel like she actually knows what she's talking about when she doesn't.
And I would last like to call out Stephen Miller, who is in the center of this. We always focus on Trump, as we often focus on the top people. But Stephen Miller, like a man named Ben Detson, he was the one who created the internment camps for Japanese. Heinrich Himmler in the Nazi regime. This is what he is. And he of course, Trump gets most of the blame, being at the top. But people like Stephen Miller will go down in history as evil, had blood on his hands, and should be jailed at the very end of this. And you're absolutely right. I do want to make one more point.
For what? For enforcing immigration policy? We don't have internment camps. We have detention facilities, which is what you need if you're going to enforce the laws. Nothing has changed. Does she want Obama to be jailed? Or is he free from his crimes because he's no longer president? He still arrested people and detained people, illegal immigrants, and he still deported them. Was he Hitler? I don't remember these people ever calling out Obama as Hitler when he was doing the exact same thing and deporting 3 million people and putting them into these exact same facilities in the exact same way. Tom Homan was running it back then too. And no one was calling him Hitler. Nobody called Obama Hitler. So why all of a sudden, when Trump does the exact same thing, when Stephen Miller does the exact same thing as we've been doing for 20 years, he's all of a sudden it's Hitler and he needs to be in prison and he needs to be jailed and he needs to be blah, blah, blah. Well, for one reason only, it's because the Democrats put all their eggs in this one basket to retain their power. There was no power loss when Obama was doing it, when he was getting the illegals out. Most of the illegals were probably like in a red state like Texas or something like that. And so there wasn't this scheme by the Democratic Party yet to flood their sanctuary cities, to create sanctuary cities in the first place, and then flood them with illegal immigrants so that they can get more voting power. They didn't have that scam yet. That's why Obama was okay. They didn't care. Now, because it's threatening to take away Democratic political power, now they've got to think of some kind of narrative, and they got to think of something that's really, really scary to the normal person who's not paying one bit of attention. Oh, geez, we'll just call Trump Hitler. Well, these are Nazis. This is fascism. And so then this will scare a bunch of normal people, and they'll think that something's going on so that they'll want to stop it, even though it's all just made up bullshit. So I think it's the same lady here talking to Jacob Frey, Minnesota.
So the fraud is real.
Mayor, Minneapolis mayor.
The fraud that took place here is very real. And when you commit fraud, you get investigated, you get charged, you get prosecuted, you get arrested, and you go to jail. As an individual, you go to jail as an individual. The whole community, however, that you are part of and the whole city that you live in is not held responsible. The whole state you live in is not held responsible. That's the way things work in Minnesota. That's the way things work in the United States of America, because everybody has due process and habeas corpus rights.
So this guy's mad because the fraud happened primarily with the Somali community, and people are saying, oh, the Somalis they're lumping them all together as one group, and they're lumping Minnesota together as one group and saying Minnesota is corrupt. Well, nobody is saying that everybody in Minnesota needs to be thrown in prison. Nobody's saying every Somali needs to be rounded up and thrown in prison. Everybody wants the people who were responsible arrested. That includes Walz, probably includes Frey, includes Keith Ellison. You know, these people who knew about the fraud, who enabled the fraud, who refused to stop the fraud. And if there's a group of people where a majority of the fraud happens just in that group of people, yeah, then you're going to think there's something going on there. That group of people has something that they're doing. Maybe we should look into it and see if they're all in on it together. I mean, this is not a difficult concept to understand. These people act like this is hard. It's like, well, when they want to talk about people as groups, like white men, then it's okay to just associate everything negative and terrible with them, even though none of those people did that thing. Oh, they're all they're white supremacists, and it's just like baked right into their skin color. Oh, that's okay to just broad brush them. But then when you've got up to $16 billion worth of fraud that happened almost exclusively amongst Somalis, you're not supposed to say Somalis. You're not supposed to say that. You're just supposed to say people, because we don't know. We don't want to lump everybody together and attribute bad things to the whole group. You can do that as long as the group's a majority. You can't do it as long as it's a minority, because the majority is bad, minority is good. Even when the minority is ripping off all the people for tons of money, you still can't. They're still good somehow. This is how these people's, how fried their minds are, how retarded they are. You got to protect the minorities. You got to protect them, even though they're doing terrible shit. All right, here's Scott Jennings. Has a single Democrat stopped and asked why there is a level chaos? There is a level chaos in Minneapolis. So we've literally nowhere else in America. The answer is obvious, but they don't want you to have that conversation. So let's take a look at what he has to say about this.
Jacob Fry, Minneapolis, the mayor of Minneapolis. He makes clear that he cares more about illegal immigrants and protecting them than he does American citizens. Cut 6.
In Minneapolis, we will not cooperate with ICE or any federal agency.
Interesting. Okay. Kind of looks like you are now.
Around immigration enforcement work. We will not.
Have you stopped to ask yourself why there is chaos in Minneapolis and literally nowhere else in America? What does Minneapolis have that nobody else has? Well, it has Walz and Fry and these insane Democrats who believe their jurisdiction should exist in a state of secession from the federal government and from federal laws. That is the bottom line here. They believe federal immigration laws should not apply to Minnesota. Does that sound reasonable to you? Does that sound like something that should be allowed? Of course, it sounds insane. Who are federal agents picking up? Drug traffickers, rapists, sex criminals, smugglers, murderers, terrorists in some cases. Some of the world's worst. Joe Biden and his party let millions of them walk right into our country, and now Democrats in Minnesota are trying to keep them here. Donald Trump was elected on a pledge to deport them, and that is all that he is trying to do. I hope this conversation with Walz and Trump bears fruit. I hope the Democrats in Minnesota come to their senses. They have an awful lot of political capital invested in this left-wing insurgency right now. It's hard to put Antifa back in the bottle once you have invited them and their tactics into your community.
Very well said. That's exactly right. Yep. They do have a lot invested in this. And now that it seems Walz kind of crumbled, and now he's cooperating, sort of takes the energy out of the whole thing. It sort of doesn't make it this good versus evil as cleanly as it was. Now it's like, well, shoot. So we've got, all right, hold on. So are these cops good or are these cops bad? What are we doing here now? So yeah, let's take a look at this. Okay, so let's look at when Obama was Hitler, and the left was all up in arms about him deporting people, and they were so concerned about illegals that they reelected him, and they just really their neighbors, as he was taking their neighbors away and taking their communities away, they loved him, and so they reelected him. But wait, he did the exact same thing, and he didn't get called Hitler or Nazi? Weird. I wonder why that would be.
There are those in the immigrants' rights community who have argued passionately that we should simply provide those who are illegally with legal status, or at least ignore the laws on the books and put an end to deportation until we have better laws.
Could have swore I heard Obama say that the other day. That's what he believes. Wait a minute. What's going on here?
And often this argument is framed in moral terms. Why should we punish people who are just trying to earn a living? I recognize the sense of compassion that drives this argument.
He recognizes the sense of compassion that drives the argument. Therefore, he's not Hitler. I get it. Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, as long as you say nice, kind things, and then still do the exact same thing as what Trump is doing, then you're a good person. Okay, I get how this works.
But I believe such an indiscriminate approach would be both unwise and unfair.
Oh, do you now?
It would suggest to those thinking about coming here illegally that there will be no repercussions for such a decision. And this could lead to a surge.
Good point.
In more illegal immigration.
What?
And it would also ignore the millions of people around the world who are waiting in line to come here legally.
What? It would be, wow. Huh. Yeah. He makes a lot of good sense here. He makes a lot of good points. Look at that. Spoken like a true Hitlerian. Spoken like a true Nazi. Look at that, Nazi Obama. Who knew? This whole time he was a Nazi.
Ultimately, our nation, like all nations,
has
the right and obligation to control its borders and set laws for residency and citizenship. And no matter how decent they are, no matter their reasons, the 11 million who broke these laws should be held accountable.
So the people who come into the country illegally break the law? Oh, I thought it wasn't breaking the law. I thought it was just like a misdemeanor and it wasn't really crime. Interesting. Okay. Well, thank you, Obama, for enlightening us on your Nazi regime, Hitlerian border policy. Gosh, why do you just hate brown people, Obama? I think you just hate brown people. And you're just going out there and you were just indiscriminately, randomly picking people up off the street, shooting them and throwing them across the border because, that's what enforcing your border, it does. I cannot believe you would just go and randomly pick brown people up off the streets. These people just came here for a better life. Stupid. All right. Let's take a look at some of these, some funny stuff.
Guys, I never talk about politics, but something has to be said. You could literally just be walking around the street in any city in the world, right now, and ICE could literally pop you and you could be a 5-year-old baby. Guys, you could be a mother coming back from a basketball game with your family, just going straight home from the basketball game, not stopping anywhere else. And you could get gassed, tear gassed. I mean, it must have come through the windows, but that's how it happened. You could literally be at your house and let your baby wander down the street, and an ICE officer will steal the baby. Guys, you could literally grab an officer by the shirt and scream in his face when he's in the middle of an investigation, and they will literally think you're a threat. That's where we are in America. And every single mother, child, immigrant, baby, grandma, and every single one of them, American citizen or not, they're being deported. It's Gestapo it reminds me of the 40s. And we have to stand up for our rights right now. We really do. I know this is a lot to ask, but I want to have a big protest and rally, and we need all the supplies like bats and mace and other things. So I wanted to know if you'll donate to my cat, my vent, any of them, right? Just Zelle, whatever. We're going to be meeting at my house in the basement on Tuesday, and we want to have everybody there to organize. Well, no, it's not an organization of anything. George Soros. No, wait, I'm saying this all wrong. Let's just meet at my house, okay? My house. And from there, we can peacefully protest.
Oh, gosh. They will. They just literally... You could just be, you just came from watching your grandchild, and the second you start your car, boom, ICE shows up. They don't even care who you are. if you're here legally, if you're anything. They don't care. If you're a human, okay, because these people are inhumane. They hate humanity. ICE does. If you're a human, they are just going to try to murder you as much as possible. They're going to arrest you. They're going to put a black bag over your head. They're going to put you in the back of the van, and then you're just never going to be seen from again. You're going to be disappeared, because that's what they do. They're disappearing people. I mean, it's literally, that's what they're doing. I mean, they've stolen like thousands of babies already. There's probably like, there's a pile of baby corpses somewhere right now that they won't even tell us where. That's what ICE is doing. Facts, people. This is well researched. They just, and you know, it's getting so bad that they don't even just care about the color of your skin anymore. They're just shooting people randomly, even white people. They just pull up somewhere on a street corner and they see somebody walking across the street and they just bam. Because that's how much they just hate humanity. And if you haven't seen that, then you haven't been paying attention. If you've never heard about that, if you think that sounds ridiculous, then you're the one who's out of touch. You're the one who's ridiculous, because that's all they are. They're just like the Gestapo, you know, they just like break into people's houses. They don't even knock. They don't even care who you are. They just are like, ew, do what we want, because we want to kill you and steal you. This is literally what these idiots think. All right, one last video here, then I got to run. So let's take a look at this. This is pretty good. That's right. You and me. So POV Minnesota. Cartman's the Liberals, and who's this? I forget. Kenny, is that his name? I can't remember. Haven't seen it for so long.
That's right. You and me. Right now. We're having it out. Let's go. Come on. Come on. That's right. You and me. Right now.
Oh, a bunch of whiny little bitches. Oh, it's so funny. I love it. Come on. I'm tough. Oh, then the second something happens, they get consequences of their own doing. They create a chaotic scenario. They create a scenario that's designed to get them hurt. Then they get hurt and they cry and bitch and moan and complain about it. Oh, it's so good. It's so accurate. You know, it's because these theater kids who go out there and play pretend protester, you know, and play pretend revolutionary and all this kind of stuff, who never really lived in the real world, never really had a real life, never really, you know, had friends, and, you know, like, feel disconnected from the broader culture because maybe they were outcasts or they were, you know, unpopular or whatever. They try to compensate for that by going to these protests and acting all tough. And they're not. And this, the second, what is that saying? The dildo of consequences rarely comes lubed, right? And so this is, you know, makes them squeal, makes them complain when it happens. So I thought that was a good way to end. So, all right, that's it for me for today. I will be back tomorrow. All right. Thanks, everybody.